It's the same for Bitcoin. When you get to 200, it's different. 300 is different. 500 is different. And then 1 million is different too. So that's how I foresee these changes coming. And, if Bitcoin is able to get to 200 or 250, which people often predict, why wouldn't it just go up another 100, 150 and go to 500, right? Like the prediction from Josh Mandel is we'll hit 444,000 this year, right? Mm-hmm. If you hit 444,000, what's to stop it from just going again to 1 million? In my view, there's nothing stopping it at that point. At that point, I think you start to demonetize gold, because people with allocation to gold will see that, Bitcoin just went from 0 to 500,000 in maybe 17 years, maybe 18 years. We'll see. But
the CEO of Jan3 and the visionary behind the adoption of Bitcoin by nation-states, Samson Mow, provides another potent reality check. He clarifies that Bitcoin is now a full-fledged worldwide competition rather than merely a grassroots movement. Today, the average person isn't simply stacking sats against other retail investors. You're now up against billion-dollar corporations, sovereign wealth funds, and entire countries racing to secure Bitcoin for their strategic reserves. It's no longer a matter of if, it's a race against time for the scarcest, hardest money the world has ever known. The clock is ticking, and the stakes have never been higher. If you're intrigued by bold predictions and deep financial insights, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more engaging content. Thank you for your support and enjoy the video.
What is going to do for Bitcoin and the significance and importance of this going forward? What does the average pleb need to know?
The average pleb needs to know that you're up against everybody now. You're up against Saylor, you're up against the US trying to create their SBR. You're up against Bitcoin bonds, you're up against Bit bonds, you're up against, pretty much everybody. And you're fighting for sats against nation states because they're already buying and mining it. And now it's just going to accelerate, and it's going to drive up demand massively. So that's the thing you have to know. That's the biggest takeaway. You have to stack like there's no tomorrow as more countries look towards Bitcoin as the solution to their problems, which it is, and the kind of normalization of Bitcoin strategies, especially from the US. Like, if even before the SBR, you could look to the ETFs and say the largest asset manager on the planet has launched a Bitcoin ETF. Why wouldn't a poor country allocate some of their capital, some of their reserves to Bitcoin in some way, just as a prudent asset management strategy, which, in theory, every central bank of every country should be doing if that is their mandate, to stabilize prices and ensure economic stability. But that is not enough, actually. But the SBR, I think, is very different because it is direct government acquisition. And I think once that really kicks into high gear, the executive order now just says don't sell and acquire in budget neutral strategies. But when they do actually have legislation that says go and buy, or if Howard Lutnick puts together one of those budget neutral strategies and starts executing acquisition, then I think we'll start to see a rush. And that rush is likely going to be something that we haven't ever seen before. It is going to trigger that rampage of capital into Bitcoin. And that's when you see Omega candles, and that's when you see even more volatility. We could go up 300,000 and then down 200,000 in a couple days. I think you'll see it before, and that is really how we get to 1 million. A lot of people think, it's going to go up slowly, it's going to be boring, and there are stretches of boring price movements in Bitcoin's history, but then you have really intense, fiery upheavals where it just goes up like 17x in a year. And the way I see it playing out is when we hit different price levels, like right now where we've topped at 109-ish, and when we go to 200, that could be a bit of a slog. We'll see, TBD, because everything has changed so much with all of this stuff happening in the US. But when we get to 200 or 0.2 M, I think you'll see another massive jump, because the world at $200,000 per Bitcoin is a very different world than 109 or 84,000 or whatever we're at right now. You're getting to a substantial amount of gold's market cap, and I think at that point you're either the second or thirdest largest asset on the planet. And I believe that changes perception. So Bitcoin at 200,000 is going to look very different. And then it's not like, it's hard for it to go up by another 100,000. So you go up to 300, right? Mm-hmm. And you see, a couple more Omega candles getting us to 500. And at that point, we've reached, half of gold's market cap. And at that point, I think you start to demonetize gold, because people with allocation to gold will see that, Bitcoin just went from 0 to 500,000 in maybe 17 years, maybe 18 years. We'll see. But that is a really crazy realization that will dawn on them. And then you start to demonetize gold, and then you just double again to get to 1 million. So that's kind of the path I'm seeing, that things change as Bitcoin levels up. It's like Dragon Ball Z, right? It's not like Goku gradually gets to SSJ 3, right? It's like SSJ, boom, SSJ 2, and then 3. It's just step changes in power level. And it's the same for Bitcoin. When you get to 200, it's different. 300 is different. 500 is different. And then 1 million is different too. So that's how I foresee these changes coming. And, if Bitcoin is able to get to 200 or 250, which people often predict, why wouldn't it just go up another 100, 150 and go to 500, right? Like the prediction from Josh Mandel is we'll hit 444,000 this year, right? Mm-hmm. If you hit 444,000, what's to stop it from just going again to 1 million? In my view, there's nothing stopping it at that point.
According to Samson Mow, we are experiencing one of the biggest illusions in history. He contends that the pre-Bitcoin period would be remembered by history as the monetary dark ages, when people naively believed that paper money was actually valuable. He claims that Bitcoin will go down in history as the catalyst for humanity's awakening. The scarcity of Bitcoin isn't the only important factor. Its finality, decentralization, mobility, and total autonomy from human oversight are its main characteristics. The first genuinely worldwide currency, Bitcoin is based on unbreakable laws rather than faith in authorities or organizations. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications.
I think it's either at the 500,000 mark or 1 million mark. Somewhere in that range is when people stop wanting fiat. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of models out there. Saylor has his Bitcoin 24 model, and then there's Power Law, and there's all these other models. None of them actually choose a break point. But you're right, there is a breaking point. It's not going to coexist forever. I think that's a pipe dream. We'll always have this exchange rate, and we'll be trading Bitcoin for $100 million, and we'll make new fiat with more zeros on it. I don't think so, because Bitcoin is a far superior technology. It's like 100x. If not 1,000x on anything we've ever had in the past, right? Being able to transport value for, a few dollars instantly across the planet with finality. That is a big game changer. And most people don't understand that. Most people don't even know what finality is, right? Like, they don't understand that when you pay with your credit card, that's not final yet. It's finalized weeks, maybe months later. But, it's almost like all of this stuff about how money works is a lost art. And again, that goes back to what we talked about earlier. Why do people find it, not interesting? Because, they're just so far removed from all of these things that it's like a different universe. They just want to get paid, have a number in their bank account, spend that on all these services, and go and watch Netflix. Yeah, I think so. I mean, eventually people will demand to be paid in Bitcoin because their suppliers, like the grocery store or department store, whatever, will want Bitcoin too. So it's just like an amplification of demand from all parts of society that want Bitcoin. So eventually you working for a company will have to ask the company, like, pay me in Bitcoin because I can't buy groceries with this paper anymore. But hyperbitcoinization, depends on how you define it, but I define it as the point at which you no longer need to convert Bitcoin to fiat anymore. You can just live on a Bitcoin standard and earn sats and spend sats. But I believe it's coming faster than most people would expect, because these types of changes in money, in the base money that everyone uses, are very quick changes. It's not a slow, gradual progression where, in 2 years, maybe we'll be at 20%. And then another 2 years, we'll be at 40%. It's quite exponential, because when most people stop wanting the fiat, then, everyone stops wanting the fiat because it's like a race against time to get rid of the fiat and get into something harder, which is Bitcoin. But I think it's probably bigger than something like Bretton Woods. I would say we'll look back at the period up till 1971 as the monetary dark ages, this period of time in which nothing really made sense. Because if you think about it, when we went off the gold standard, all of a sudden, this paper that was designed to represent gold, it's a IOU for gold, suddenly was disconnected. And you could now take this paper, and whoever can print the paper can make more of it to buy back that asset that was supposed to be represented by that paper. So it's like bizarro world. Nothing really makes sense anymore because you have a relatively finite hard asset in gold, and you have, a representation of that asset in terms of paper or digital paper, whatever you want to call that. And now this can buy all of this. So, if you really think about it and you sleep on it and you mull it over, it's like wacko that suddenly this valuable thing can be bought by this worthless thing. And this is sort of the conclusion of that experiment. And I think we'll look back in 50 or 60 years, historians will look back and say, wow, I can't believe we were so primitive that we were led to believe that, this piece of paper had value. And that's sort of the realization that they'll look at it. Not, it's like Bretton Woods type, we agreed to do something, but it's just, we were all insane for decades using paper.
Samson Mow presents a compelling vision of a time when Bitcoin would be accepted as the norm in daily life. Stores, suppliers, and service providers will all prefer Bitcoin, he says, so eventually people won't want to be paid using the government-issued paper money. The pressure on Bitcoin will inevitably spread to everyone as more segments of society begin to want it, because they will no longer be able to purchase necessities like groceries with paper money. Workers will start requesting that their employers pay them in Bitcoin. He thinks this change will occur far more quickly than most people think. The basic currency that people rely on is changing, and these changes aren't gradual. They are exponential and abrupt. There is a quick rush to leave the old system and switch to the new, harder currency, Bitcoin, as soon as trust in fiat money begins to erode. Samson goes so far as to say that this shift will be more important than the Bretton Woods Accord, which established the global financial system. He refers to the period since the United States formally abandoned the gold standard in 1971 as the monetary dark ages, during which everyone was ensnared in the delusion that paper money had actual enduring worth. Samson argues that historians will look back at this period and be stunned by how primitive and naive we were, believing in the value of paper simply because we were told to. In the future, Bitcoin will be seen not just as a new form of money, but as the awakening from a decades-long delusion. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.